everybody, and welcome back to the Dice Tower and board game Smorgasbord. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla Clyghorn.
I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're going to be discussing all sorts of fun tidbits. We're going to be talking about fruits.
I like that word.
Oh, tidbits.
That's a good word.
For fruits,
Tidbits
actually.
is a good
I don't
word.
use tidbits as much as I should.
You really should.
You should.
It's easy.
I'm offended by your lack of
Tidbits?
use.
You were trying to stick it in there.
I was
Right.
trying to like
Moving
sidestep
on, folks. Today's episode of Smorgasbord is brought to you by Bezier Games and Cat in the Box,
Ooh,
specifically. Cat in the
yes.
Box is a trick-taking game. You might have heard of it, in which the cards have no suits. You need to decide what those suits are as you introduce the new cards into the game. So you're trying to avoid creating a paradox as you are doing so. If you're stuck unable to play a card, then you are knocked out of the round. It's very interesting, very quirky trick-taking card game. And we're doing a giveaway today. So you want to try to win one of these, you want to email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, you are going to put the word feline, like a kitty cat, feline, and make sure that in the body of the email you include your name and your address just in case you win, so one can be sent to you. And that's going to do it. So thanks to Bezier Games, and thanks to you for entering that contest. Hey, you might win. You got to do it. All right, folks, so we're going to get to the news here in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and hit an intro for that. All right, let's see what's going on here.
Do it. Tell me the things.
First things first, let's talk about the Dice Tower nominations for the Games of the Year. We announced these last week. That was last week, wasn't it?
Yes.
I feel like it was last week,
It
guys.
was just last week.
It was just last week.
What's
Wow.
happened?
We have a video that went up for that if you want to check that video out, where you can see every single one of our nominations, or we can just point you over to our website, dicetower.com, where you can see all the nominees. I'm not going to discuss them all here, but there were quite a few. It was a wonderful year, I thought, and there were a lot of very strong nominations across a plethora, and that's another good word.
It's a fun one. I'm going to use both of those later today. I don't know how. Tidbits and plethora.
You just did.
You did- there you go. Done.
Plethora
Check,
of
check.
And it's
categories and wonderful games. So again, let's point you to dicetower.com so you can check that out. Plus all the other cool stuff we've got over there, okay?
Ooh.
So that was the nominees for the year's 16th Annual Gaming Awards.
Nice.
All right, next up, we have some other awards talk that we're going to go over here. We got the Golden Geek Awards. They had their nominations. They have quite a few nominees in each category, and they basically do their nominees for Game of the Year. They fall into 3 categories. That's how they do it. They do Light Game of the Year, Medium Game of the Year, and Heavy Game of the Year. And there's, gosh, about 13, 11 entries in each of these categories. I'll just mention a couple quickly here. So for Light, Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition, that's one of them. Again, the sponsor for the video.
Okay.
Dwarf Romantic, that's one that I've been interested about or
Really?
by.
Play that.
Was getting some interesting, buzz based on a video game which I haven't played with
Haven't done
either.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like a very clever tile laying game.
Yep.
And let's pick another one here. Well, Long Shot, the dice game.
Nice.
Wonderful
Oh,
dice
you
game.
like that one a lot, yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that one too.
Yeah.
So that's some of the nominees there for medium. I'm sorry, for light.
For light.
Then medium, we've got Flamecraft, big one.
Okay.
Heat, Pedal to the Metal.
Interesting.
Planet Unknown,
Oof.
which is a little heavier, I would
forgot
say.
that was
but-
last year.
I think that would be a heavy, because we're all medium, right?
Well, here's some of the heavy ones, so you can have a point of reference.
Okay.
Dead Reckoning,
Okay.
Endless
Wow.
Winter, Paleo-Americans, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, Weather Machine. So certainly heavier,
Those
more
are heavy.
complicated games.
Okay, yeah.
Dead Reckoning is, I can see that. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there
it
you go.
is.
Those are the
It is.
nominees, or some of them anyway. If you want to check out the full list, you can go over to Board Game Geek and check that
So
out.
they kind of do it opposite of us. They have less categories, but more nominees in each one.
It's possible
Right.
there are other categories. I'm not certain these are the Game of the Year nominees.
Oh, got it.
But again,
Okay.
they have quite a few, and
I
they do
see.
break it down into three
for that.
chunks where we do not.
Okay.
Game of the Year is Game of the Year, man. All right, the Mensa Awards have been announced. These are the winners now, not just nominations. And it's a very interesting slate of games this year, I would say, that got the Mensa nod. We've got Boop. I haven't played Boop, but I've heard good things. And then Acropolis has been a critical darling so far this year. Millefiori, Garden Bow, and my favorite of all these, Trekking Through
I do like that
History.
one. Now, does Boop not just... I have not played Boop. I've played most of the other ones. It seems to stand out in that crew.
It does a little bit, from the look at least. It
Right.
might be a great game, and it might be a very mentally stimulating game, which is the idea for a Mensa winner.
That's what I was thinking. But it's just... So maybe I haven't played it, so I don't know if the strategy is that high, but that's... Because those other ones, like Millefiori, it's a brain burner.
Well, the thing about Mensa Awards is they often, because of the way they come together, discuss the games, play the games very quickly, and then sort of move on to a different table. If I understand correctly, that's kind of how they set it up. It does tend to favor games that are quickly clever.
Oh,
That makes
interesting.
sense.
Okay.
And that you sit down and
yeah.
you start playing and you go, okay, this is clever, this is mentally
Interesting,
stimulating,
and then
cool,
you-
got it, I'm moving on to the next table.
Huh, okay.
So games that are longer or that are deeper, that take a while to unfurl, and that's another good word to today,
nice.
unfurl, are going to not normally get the nod. And if you look at previous winners, you'll see that trend. So it's nice to see some games up here that do take a little bit more to see them come to fruition and see everything they offer. Millefiori
I
is
think
one
Millefiori,
of them.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
You know, trekking through history. So it's a great slate of winners there. And so congrats
It's a good
to
span.
those games. Absolutely.
All good that I played.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some Hello Kitty. Hello
Finally.
Kitty has got a board game that was announced from Maestro Media. This is going to launch worldwide in 2024, and as far as the game, it's designed by Roberta Taylor, who's done Creature Comforts, who's done Octopus's Garden, and this is so. Some of those games have a little bit more going on than you might suspect when you hear Hello Kitty.
Yeah, I would
That's gonna
say
be
that-
Possible that
interesting.
this is a little bit of a more in-depth game. You know, there might be a little bit more going on that you might suspect.
Which makes sense because I don't know where Hello Kitty falls now, but I think, when we were in school it was hot, which means it's now older.
So more
was it-
civilized people will be playing.
Right,
Hello
I mean,
Kitty.
it's not, the when this was popular, I was like, what, 12, 15, something?
Right.
Something like that was kind of its heyday that I noticed. And so maybe it is that they're older. But again, I don't know. I could get yelled at a lot here. Maybe it is still wildly
I
popular.
believe it's still one of the biggest IPs in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe it's just not U.S.
Really?
so much.
Yeah, I think it's one of
Okay,
the
so here in the
strongest
US
intellectual properties, like, worldwide.
It's got staying power because every time
Yeah.
you think it's over, it's like, and it's back. Yeah.
See, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think I've
everywhere.
not seen it in years.
Really?
I've not seen anything for it in stores and stuff.
But
I think
got
you
a-
haven't been to the stores that might feature it. That might be
You've got a
it.
son
Like Hot
too.
Topic?
I have a 6-year-old
Like what?
daughter.
Like, I
and
mean,
she's
oh,
it's
yeah, I don't have a
everywhere.
daughter. Yeah.
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 So this is going to be coming to crowdfunding in September 2023. The game will be called Hello Kitty Day at the Park. It's intended for 2 to 4
Huh.
players, ages 8 and up, and at some point in 2024 should be at market. All right, next up, we are looking at, I believe this is pronounced MLEM, Space Agency. And this is a
This
brand
is-
new game from Rebel Studio and the good Dr. Reiner Knizia. This is going to be a press your luck dice game for 2 to 5 players. This is due late 2023. And the idea here is that you are you're pushing your luck, like I said, with dice, trying to launch your kitty cats, your, as they're called, catstronauts. That's right.
See? Yep.
Into space, but you can decide to stay in there and keep pushing your luck, or you can jump off and hope that that mission fails. So it's this push your luck, when do I bow out of this and let everybody else continue? And if they fail, great, that's good for me because I wasn't in there. It sounds a bit to me like Cloud 9, a previous
that
game of a
one.
push your luck nature in
I
which
haven't
you're sharing an airship. That airship moves along, but whenever you want to, you can jump out of it. And if it then fails, you're like, woo, dodged a bullet there. You know, I'm out.
Interesting, yeah.
I love this cover. There's so much to unpack. We got a cat with a monocle. We got a calico with a spatula. This is fantastic.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot
There's a
going
lot
on
to
there.
unpack,
Yeah, and then you can look at the planets in the back, and there's one that has a paw print.
Yes.
That's part of the continent. There's another one that has an impression of a kitty cat face, a very, very Hello Kitty
This
sort of
is-
Yeah.
look to it there. So that is MLEM Space Agency. All right, next up we have a nature game here.
Yes.
Coming
Oh,
at
tell
us
me more.
from this is from
need one for my
Bezier
list.
Games. This
You
is
do.
SCRAM, Critters versus Campers. A new team-based card game which is going to be shipping Q3 2023. So in this one, designed by Ted Alspach, who runs Bezier Games, you are going to team up to clear your campsite of critters. The animals are have different values. Some of them have special abilities. And you are flipping some over, flipping some back around, eventually calling SCRAM when you think you have the lowest total of animals, their values add up to the lowest total in front of you. It sounds a little bit like Cabo to me, actually,
Right.
which is another game that Bezier acquired, printed, and reworked and reprinted as some of the silver games. So, yeah, this is a little more team-focused, maybe, and in fact, you can play as 1 versus 2, 2 on 2, 2 on 3, different combinations. It's also going to feature a free scoring app, as many Bezier games do. All right? That'll track your scoring, track your rounds. All right, next up, we've got Mission Control Critical Orbit. This is from publisher 3WS, that's Third World Studios, I want to say. I forget what they're called. They're mainly a graphic novel publisher.
Oh, okay.
That's what they do. And so they've worked with IDW in the past. But yeah, 3WS Games, designer Corey Andalora and Donnie Coleman. This is a cooperative title, Mission Control Critical Orbit. One player is an astronaut stuck in space after a devastating accident in space that damaged their shuttle. And the remaining players are the ground-based support in Houston, in Cologne, in a few different places around the world, rolling dice in secret for the astronaut, support from the other players, doing various little mini games. Again, kind of a twist on cooperation with.
Interesting.
It's like an not quite an all versus one. It's like an all helping one, kind
That's
of thing.
This is interesting. Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. Certainly, they're trying to fix everything up there. If you do it in 20 minutes, you succeed the game. So I wonder also if it has a time element to it.
That's what it sounds like.
This is going to be getting a soft release at Origins, so you should be able to see some copies there, and then a full release at Gen Con this year.
I
really
do like the cover on that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful cover. You can tell that they're a company that is used to working with graphic novels and that sort of thing.
Right.
You really get that feel from that cover. So very, very cool looking, very exciting news there.
I do like the guy hanging out of the back of this spaceship there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, let's stay in space for this next one.
Ooh.
This is Lunar Outpost coming out from Ravensburger. And this is in conjunction with a couple of interesting entities. This is in conjunction with Amazon and Amazon Alexa, which is going to be a part of the game, a component in the game.
Oh, I don't think I like that.
Utilizing Amazon Alexa to help you play the game. And then also Nova, which is a TV program, a sort of public television program that's been around for many, many years, all about science. So this is, again, sort of in conjunction with both of those establishments. You are going to be building up habitable modules. You're going to be putting together this ever-expanding complex in space, okay? We don't know too much more about that. It sounds interesting. They've hired an actual NASA astronaut, Dan Tanney, as a consultant. So it sounds like they're doing all their homework. I'm very interested in this. I think it looks good. That image of the board itself looks fantastic. The Amazon Alexa thing is interesting. I know they've done this in the past where they would use Alexa to help you learn and help you you could ask it questions of about a game, and it would tell you the rules for something you were looking for. This, I believe, is going to have more integration there than just, hey, how do I do this?
Got it.
This is going to actually work with the game, so it's going to be a little
That kind of makes. I mean, you have to have it. Then it sounds like. I mean, doesn't that kind of
Which I know
put people out of the game if they don't have that? I mean, it's like, hey, it's a $20 game, but also you have to have this. And I know you can get them on sale and stuff, but like this $50 device.
Yeah,
well, it's not very surprising that this is going to be available through Amazon because
Oh, shocker.
It utilizes Alexa, so I believe it might be an Amazon exclusive at least for a bit.
The only game I played that used it a lot is, you see Hey Robot, where you have a word that you have to get Alexa or Google Home to say. So you ask it a definition of something if you try to get it to say the word vampire or whatever. That's the only one. It's a clever idea.
That is, you can use any device with that.
Any
you
device.
can use the Alexa, the Google Home,
that was
the
interesting.
Apple Pod, something like that. Mike is
just-
saying
okay.
he thinks that it's not required to play though.
They probably have an app or something.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it might be, again, it
Maybe.
might do what some previous games have done, in which it helps you learn, helps you play, but you don't need it. Anyway, this is going to be
That's
coming
interesting.
out in June this year, so keep an eye out for that, and hopefully some more news about it. To me, it seems really interesting. I think this is
the
very
board
cool.
looks good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's the thing.
This is very, very interesting looking. All right, let's move on to some reprint news, some unexpected reprint news. This is a game that's coming out from Funko. And
Really?
Funko is reprinting an old Wolfgang Kramer game, a classic called Big Boss. Wolfgang Kramer, one of the most famous board game designers of all time, who's done games like Tikal, El Grande, Downforce, itself reprinted. Well, now Funko Games is reprinting this 1994 title, Big Boss. In Big Boss, which is a little bit inspired by Acquire, Sid Sackson's Acquire, very, very famous game. Players are trying to build their own business empires, founding companies, expanding companies, taking over smaller ones, and buying shares in those companies. So this new version of Big Boss is going to feature an updated board, components, and art style inspired by Art Deco, as you can tell from the cover there. And the players will be able to play the original version of Big Boss using specific components and the original rules. But I guess they have some new innovations as well, and this is going to be released in June 2023. So very, very soon. A strange move, I have to say, for Funko, who I don't think has done anything like this before.
So similar to Acquire? So
It's
economic
similar
game?
to Acquire, sort of inspired by Acquire.
So economic
Yeah.
Wow.
for Funko.
Right.
And
yeah,
a
that's it.
reprint.
Really?
I haven't seen them. I might be forgetting something, but I don't think I've seen them reprint anything, much less reprint a classic from the 90s.
Right.
Yeah, that is not a weird move, just a very different move.
It's a very different move for the company, so there must be something in the game that they adored, or someone at the company who really wants his back in.
Yeah, or they're just expanding, and
Yeah.
trying something new. I mean, that's good for them.
Wow. That's interesting.
All right, that is Big Boss. Next up, we are also talking about a reprint. This is more of a localization, really. This is a game called something in German I will not attempt to pronounce, that is getting a printing in the U.S. The U.S. branch of Amigo is reprinting it as Pick-a-Pepper. They're changing the cover, and it's very funny. The update, the news said that they were changing the terrifying-looking, cover for a different one, which I find the new one to be equally terrifying.
Right, it is. I think it's a sideways step.
Yeah, it's a lateral move.
Yeah.
This is also a game from Wolfgang Kramer, co-designed by Wolfgang Kramer, and Christian Storr, I believe I'm saying that right, is his co-designer. This came out in late 2022 originally, and like I said, it is now changing localization and coming out in the US as Pick-a-Pepper, sort of a deck building-esque economic game a little bit. You are, acquiring these peppers, trying to sort of, push your luck and make chili sauce while you're ditching all the chili cards in your deck.
How old is
interesting.
that, the German one? It's pretty new as
Late
well, right?
2022.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
Oh,
so this reprinter, I guess, bringing over is pretty quick. It's pretty hot on the heels.
I get it. Hot
Oh,
on the heels.
yes, I definitely meant that.
That's funny. All right, next up, we are talking about an expansion to a game that definitely needed an expansion.
Already?
Revive.
Wow.
Call of
Wow.
the Abyss. You know what a Revive needed? More stuff. And this expansion intends to give you more stuff. Just look at the back of that box.
Gosh, that cover is gorgeous,
That
though.
cover is
It is
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I actually like
gorgeous.
this cover much more than the original cover, which I thought was lovely, but this is a stunning looking
This is
cover.
It is
Nice.
absolutely gorgeous.
And the back of the box, though, shows you how much more content is in there.
Good
This is
grief.
a lot. It introduces the mysterious new life form, Scyphos, I want to say. It lives in a giant lake that is formed by the water that has melted from the glaciers in this sort of sci-fi post-apocalyptic world. You are going to be getting... You build new lakes, you build near lakes, you gain devotion points from that. You access these new powerful Scyphos cards. There's a lot. There's those cards, there's journey cards, there's 3 lakes, there's a devotion track. It contains 15 new machine tokens, new citizens, new tribes that the players can be. Just tons of content. All of that compatible with the solo play, by the way. And then the 4 new tribes only feature an advanced side. The original boards had a basic side with everyone being the same and an advanced asymmetric side. So these don't have the basic side anymore. You don't need that anymore, okay? Step up.
If you're getting the expansion.
If you're getting the expansion, you're already playing at the advanced side, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, there's a ton in here for what I think might be what appears to be a fairly small box.
Looks like
There's lots in there. So if you like Revive, you're being spoiled by all of this extra content.
It seems interesting that it seems like it's a couple new mechanisms, but also a lot of the variability as well. You're talking about the new tribes and things like that, right? So it's kind of a catch-all kind of expansion.
I have not played Revive. My wife loves it. So I'd like to, I don't know, but it's a heavy Euro, right?
It is a heavy Euro game, yes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind trying it. This cover makes me want to try it.
Yeah, it's one I've had my eye on for, ever since it came through the office. I wasn't part of it. I haven't. I wasn't part of it.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, you haven't played it yet, so you...
No, I haven't. I wasn't part of the original, when it came through, playing it and that and stuff, so I haven't had a chance. But because it is such a heavy, big teach, and so just haven't made it to the table.
All right, well, 2023 at some point, we're not sure yet. Likely Spiel. That's when you'll be able to get that. All right, next up, we've got from Darrington Press, Queen by Midnight.
Gosh, another gorgeous cover.
That looks good.
This is going to be a deck builder. This is a collaboration
Very much so.
by Darrington Press here and Critical Role. Critical Role is involved. They are, well, you know who they are probably, but they are an RPG show. And so they are very much involved in this. This one is going to be, let's see, the Queen, the Midnight Queen is dead, and her dying command was to invoke Rule by Midnight, a trial where 6 princesses meet in secret to battle and scheme against one another. So at the stroke of midnight, the most powerful one left standing will be crowned the new Midnight Queen. It's sort of a battle royale deck building game. Each character, each princess is going to have unique tactics, a starting deck with some different abilities. The centerpiece this is only descriptive so far, so we haven't been able to see this, but this is very inspiring. The centerpiece of this game is a clock dice tower that tracks turns, offers cards to buy, and rolls your dice while spinning to face each player on their turn.
So electronic? There's a lot to
That's my question too. I don't know, right? When I read that, I go, wait, like a big giant Dark Tower thing that actually spins?
But then
But it might not be. It might simply be a thing that we can spin and roll dice into and draw cards from.
But I'm also wondering then, what the board looks like, because is it going to be something like Frostpunk, for example, if you have a big dice tray in the middle, or dice tower in the middle, is it going to get in the way visually?
Well, I think it's mostly a card game, so they might not get in the way. This is a deck building game, but I'm just curious as to what that thing is going to be.
Right.
What is this clock, dice tower, card dispensing, dice rolling thing? I don't know.
Yeah, interesting.
But I'm curious.
And I will say, if it's got that consistent artwork through it, I'd look at it, because that's really
absolutely.
nice.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, there's it features artwork from a team of Michal Ivan, Mike Pape, and Amira Sheik, which is just, stunning artwork. And by the way, the game is designed by Kyle Shire.
How long does it say? 60 to 90 minutes? It's hard to see.
It says 60 to 90, 3 to 6 players, ages 12 and up. Yep.
Okay.
So there we go. Yeah, it's a stunning cover.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very interested. All right, next up, in more reprint news, we've got Bonanza Dahlias. This is a reprint of the classic Uwe Rosenberg game Bonanza, but the beans are out and the flowers are in. Nature, baby. Wait, aren't beans already nature?
They are.
They are, yeah.
I would say so, but I get outvoted.
Yeah, you're not sure about that.
Do they have beans on Mars?
So this is the same game, same original concept, 3 to 5, the usual original sort of Bonanza, with a whole new coat of paint, a beautiful coat of paint from Beth Sobel. and you're still wheeling and dealing, collecting these flowers, selling lots of them for victory points. Bonanza's been around for a long, long time. It's an old classic, a standby, and it's being reworked to hopefully appeal to a wider market, plus striking while the iron's hot, because this theme is very popular right now.
Yeah.
Apparently this came about because Beth Sobel approached the company with the idea of creating a flower-themed version of Bonanza.
Oh, interesting.
And they went ahead and decided to give that a try. So,
Oh, that's cool.
no beans, no bean-related puns like the original game, just pretty flowers, and again, the idea of a maybe more relatable, easier for everybody sort of theme.
Right.
So there you go. That is the new Bonanza. Next up, we had a big announcement from Garfield
Wow.
Games.
Yes.
I am certainly the wrong person to cover all this. Mike DeLisio is spinning in his chair right now. What am I going to say? Grave? He's not dead. But I'll go ahead and do the best I can here. So the first one is Shipwrights of the North Sea here, Redux, is a reworking of Shipwrights of the North Sea. And this was the first game that they put out, and it is by far seen as sort of the weakest of them all. It was an early attempt. It was one that didn't really, it sort of doesn't fit in with the rest of this superb line and sort of the respected gardeners. Well, they've gone back to the drawing board and given it another go. And it really, from what I understand, the game is pretty much different. They tried this already once, and that became, that sort of, a wall was hit in the design process, but that became that Legacy of You game, I want to say.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And then they've gone
Okay.
back, Shem Phillips has gone back to the drawing board, tried it again, and now is coming out with a reworked version of that. So Shipwrights of the North Sea is not one I think I've played, but now that there's a new Redux one that brings it up to speed, I'll probably try to give this one a go.
That's really cool.
So there we go, that's coming out. And then we've got, from the same company, another piece of news, the collector's box of Explorers of the North Sea. This is going to allow you to store the original game and its one expansion. The main thing here is that Garfield is working with Black Magic Games, which is an offshoot of Game Trays, to offer trays and an insert solution right in the box, something they haven't done in the past. This is the first time they're offering this in one of these big boxes. So you'll be able to put the box, the box's contents in there, the original game, the expansion, and have everything nice and tidy in the one container.
I think that'll be interesting to see how that affects the other games, like if the insert is done well and well received, because that is one thing they're kind of notorious for, is so many components in a smaller box.
Yeah.
And people appreciate the smaller box, but it also means it's very tricky to store it,
Especially
to
if you
get
get
everything in.
expansions.
Expansions or upgrade anything, it's really tricky. So I think that's going to be interesting for the longer term, what this means and how this is accepted.
Right. Do we get inserts, do we get this sort of treatment for later games as they get expansions, as they, perhaps offer a big box solution.
Right.
So very interesting. And then one final one from the same company again, Garfield. This is a new title in their historical line, and you'll recognize the style on the cover to match Legacy of You and those other ones. So this one is sort of a sequel to Raiders of Scythia. It features that same iconic artwork from Sam Phillips, who is Shem Phillips' brother, I believe. This new title, Ezra Nehemiah, take place about 100 years after Scythia, a heavy Euro title about the Israelites leaving Babylonia in 539 BC and working to rebuild the walls and temple at Jerusalem. So players are going to be working together to rebuild parts of the city, but compete to be the first to, in specific sort of mini games and categories. Sam McDonald commented that this is the quintessential Shem and Sam game, featuring many of the mechanisms and trade qualities of their design style. So it almost sounds like a bit of a celebration of what Garfield Games does and is known for doing. So very
really cool.
interesting. This one's going to play 1 to 4 players, plays in about 2 hours. It's coming to Kickstarter in October.
Oh, Kickstarter. Okay.
All right.
That'll be fun.
So there you go. And then one last piece of news, a very big announcement. This is an announcement from Arcane
huge.
Wonders, working in conjunction with Activision for Call of Duty, the board game. So Call of Duty, the board game is, of course, based on the beyond popular Call of Duty license, only second to Hello Kitty. And in this one, you're going to take the role of elite soldiers battling each other in intense, fast-paced action set in the iconic maps from the Call of Duty video games. You can expect here some high-quality components, miniatures with the soldiers, weapons, the weapons that they feature in the franchise. So the gameplay, from what we understand so far, will feature a variety of scenarios and modes that allow players to share the excitement of Call of Duty in a whole new way. So scenarios, miniatures, different weapons, what have you. This is going to go to Kickstarter fall 2023 and should be coming out worldwide to retail 24.
I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Call of Duty is a very, very strong license.
Yes.
A lot of people do know it. A lot of people love that setting and those games. So, yeah.
And then Hello Kitty stretch goal is going to be great.
Yeah, crossover pack in the works now.
It's
You heard it
awesome.
here first.
No, I'm excited about this one. I don't play the game. It's one I can't follow that makes me really dizzy, but I always really liked it and liked the look of it and the lore of it. You know, that kind of, I really enjoyed my brothers playing this game. So, I'm really excited about this.
Well, the board game should make you way less dizzy.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, kind of like the Dead by
true.
Daylight, that kind of stuff. I'm really a big fan of those. So,
All right. Well, there we go, folks. That is the news.
All right, welcome back to my segment on Board Game Smorgasbord. Now, normally we talk about 3D printing, but we're going to put a pause on that this week because we just had the Spring Spectacular, and Carla and I were both down in Miami for it, Homestead, and it was a blast. I hope you enjoyed the content, but I just kind of wanted to give you some of my favorite highlights and moments that happened. Most of the best parts were off camera, obviously, hanging out, just having fun, playing some games together after, that are going to be reviewed soon and stuff like that. That was just a blast, hanging out with Joey, Tom, and everybody, the whole crew. I love those people. They're amazing people. And let me put them over for a minute. They didn't ask me to do this, obviously. But just great people. I mean, fun to be around. Really enjoy the hobby and really enjoy putting together the best product for you. They really absolutely do. And motivated by it, working out, hey, can we fix this to do this better? And things like that. So much fun to be around. So before we go any further, do know that we have pre-orders for the new Board Game Breakfast mugs. Those sold out like crazy, so get yours now at dicetowerstore.com, as well as check out the shirts that are on there. And if you want to check out this stuff in person, I'm going to be at Dice Tower East in the Dice Tower East booth with the merch store there. So you'll be able to buy some of this stuff in person, the water bottles and all that. So make sure to come by and see me there. But top moments of the Spring Spectacular for me was obviously my top 10. That was a blast. I just played Earth last night again. We bought a copy and played it again. It probably would bump So Clover out of my top 10 nature games. I don't know if it would beat WWE Royal Rumble, though. Nature Boy is pretty thematic. I'm kidding. That was not in my top list. So Clover was. But again, as a heel, I enjoy that just to have fun. Just to pull back the curtain a little bit, obviously, that one's a silly entry just to get conversation starting, and boy, was it fun. Playing games with Carla when she was roasting magicians was hilarious because that's what we do anyway in our spare time is roast magicians, even though we are both magicians, so it's a lot of fun. The Jackbox game was a blast. Playing, Fractured Sky was so good. Earth is so good. Jerusalem, Anno Domini, my gosh, that's a good game. I am so excited to play that again. Just so much fun, though. Silliness, hearing Mike sing, I would just pitch him a tune, he would just start singing the Mike DeLisio version of it. Just so much fun. So, if you haven't watched the Spring Spectacular videos, and in your mind you think, oh, it's just a playthrough, trust me, it is anything but just a playthrough. It is silliness to the extreme. So, the top 10 list they did with every game, every home should have these. That was a great list as well. But love the Spectaculars. Love getting to just hang out with those people. They're friends, and so it was fun to get to play games there as well as do the reviews that I do here. So it's always nice to kind of merge those worlds as we are 700 miles away from each other. But a lot of fun. Make sure to go check that out. So I had a blast being down there, and I look forward to being on more Spectaculars and seeing you in person at Dice Tower East. Again, check out the merch store. Hope you enjoy this board of smorg that we have for you. A veritable buffet. I'll have some of the blue. Don't get cheap on me. I think I'm just going to sign out like that from now on. It's Cousin Eddie. There are a lot of great Cousin Eddie quotes. Most of them I can't say. In fact, the quote that popped in your mind most likely from Cousin Eddie is the very one I can't say about something being full. So, until next time, we'll see you on Board Game Smorgasbord.
Hey there, everybody. It's Mike DeLisio, and it's very odd to not be there live in the studio for Board Game Smorgasbord, but I'm here in the Dice Tower Midwest Annex, so I figured that I would do a segment because my voice must be heard. I'm going to be doing a segment talking about importing games. People have been importing board games for many, many years. It started off primarily German games being brought over to English language-speaking countries, but there are still a number of games that don't have a wide distribution, and if you want to get a copy of it, you have to import it. So the first game I'm going to be talking about is a game called Galaxy Cat Extension, and this is one that I imported from Japan from designer Reiner Knizia, a ridiculous game about cats and UFO abductions. Let me just show you a little bit about it. Here's what you get in the box of Galaxy Cat Extension: a rulebook, a deck of cards, a blue cat meeple. The game is super simple. What you're going to do is on your turn, you'll flip over the top card of the deck, and then you're going to take that card and you're going to either keep it yourself or you're going to give it to one of your opponents. The only restriction is that you can never have more than 3 cards face up in front of you, so if anyone does, they couldn't get the card. Let's say that person wanted to keep their card, the next player would flip it over. They can either keep it themselves, give it to somebody else, and you're going to continue to do this until everybody has 3 face-up cards in front of them. That'll trigger the end of the round. At the end of the round, whoever has the blue cat meeple can take one of their cards and immediately score it in a face-down pile known as the Cat Mountain. And then what you're going to do is you're going to evaluate how many UFOs are on in each person's pile. Whoever has the most UFOs in their pile is going to have to discard their cards without scoring, and then everybody else will be able to take those cards and put them into a face-down pile for their scoring. And at the end of the game, after you run through all of these cards, you'll count up how many points you get based on the length of the cards in your hand. Complete cats. You've got these special cards like the God Cat Power card that will take the cards and shift them to their players to the left. You've got the Bipedal Cat, which will get you that blue token in front of you, but it won't score. Very simple game. That's Galaxy Cat Extension. All right, well, there you have the ridiculous that is Galaxy Cat Extension. This is a game that I actually imported from Amazon Japan, and the rule book itself is actually in Japanese. So if you want to get the rules, you either have to get a unofficial translation on Board Game Geek, or I actually have Google Translate on my phone, so I was able to scan through the rule book and figure it out that way. Is this a game that I feel like needs to be in wider distribution? I don't know. It's a very silly small card game, so I don't know that it necessarily needs to, but I'm certainly glad to have it. I mean, the cost to import it was not insignificant, so your mileage may vary there. But for me, I'm a collector, a bit of the thrill of the chase. I like this designer. I like the novelty aspect of getting a game that's a little bit harder to get a hold of than others. That's just something about me as a collector and as a gamer. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's segment. Let's keep this smorgasbord a-rolling.
All right, today we are going to be talking about our top 3 fruits. Fruity fruits.
Fruity fruits.
I like them all.
You like all the fruits?
Really?
Is there a fruit I don't like? I definitely have a scale of opinions. Is there any fruit I don't like?
You're straight up like, oh, no.
I don't like that. I don't
have
think
one
so.
that definitely comes to mind immediately, grapefruit.
Oh,
agree.
grapefruit. Yeah,
With
I don't even think of it because it's nasty.
It's
No.
like you have to pour a lot of stuff on it to eat it.
Grapefruit's just awful. It's like a bad orange.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
But what's
Yeah.
interesting
I agree
is,
with that.
though, is I really like Fresca. I believe you do as well, which
Yeah,
is
Fresca
a grapefruit flavored
doesn't-
drink.
Yeah, it doesn't taste
But
like
it doesn't.
grapefruit.
It doesn't. It's
Yeah,
so good.
It's diluted
But
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah, you're right.
They showed it at grapefruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way, but no, grapefruit is
Grapefruit's
awful.
Terrible.
I like a lot of fruits myself. I definitely am not, I think, as much of a fruity as you are, but
Is that a compliment?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
sure.
pickier. I think I'm pickier. So
Yeah.
let's start with you, Joey. What do you got? What's
Ooh,
your
it's going to be good.
favorite?
All right.
What's
So
your
yummy.
third favorite fruit?
Tomatoes.
Olives. No, we're going to do. Actually, my third one, we used to pick up all
Are they
the-
very exotic? Did you go for like exotic
He went
things
for
or
the shock
pretty
factor.
common things?
No, it's peaches. Because I
my
love
fourth.
Coming down to Florida when we lived in Kentucky, going through Georgia, we'd have to stop and get Georgia peaches every time. I don't know if they tasted better or we just thought they did, but man, there's something about peaches.
They're so
though.
good.
They're so good and rewarding.
So good.
You know?
Yeah.
As a
Peaches
kid,
is almost was my top
Really?
3. It's my 4.
Yep, it was
so
on.
good, man.
It was a
They're right
contender.
up there. How do you get past the fuzziness of them? But you know what? They're great. I love
I don't
peaches.
mind it. I hear that complaint a lot. Like the
Really?
whole the fuzzy peach thing freaks people out. I'm like, I can't feel it. I'm not biting into something that feels hairy. It's just like it's indistinguishable, I think.
See, I think
I guess.
because of that, a lot of times I'll go for a nectarine as well as they're a little bit more firm, but have a similar
That's true.
taste.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
But it doesn't bother me and keep me from eating it. But I do hear the complaint. It is a texture I could see some people being put off by.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
So
Oh,
good. In
so
tea
good.
and anything, peaches are just great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
My number 3 is an avocado. Avocado is like my savory fruit. I love it. What?
Here we go. There's always got to be one
One what?
who's like,
Really?
oh, tomato. It's a fruit, you know. It's actually a fruit. Avocado is a vegetable.
All right.
First of all, it gives us guacamole. That's the only thing it ever donated to society.
Not a vegetable. I'm stuck on
You know
that.
what I mean? It's like one of those things. Like
What?
it's functionally a vegetable.
No, it's not. What? Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. My number 3 is an avocado, and it's fantastic. And yes, it is more of a savory, but you can have it in like your mango salsas or your sweeter things. I really like it because of that versatility. I like it in just about everything. You were talking about peaches, how you like them in your tea, how you like them in everything. That's how I like avocados. I love avocado smoothies. I like them as a side. I like them. Stop.
This is so gross right now.
I love avocados, and it's my number 3, and it's a fruit.
I'm skipping lunch.
That's all.
Bonnie Crew agrees with me. I appreciate that. And I understand, Kurt, avocados are biologically a fruit. While I'm eating fruit, I don't want to think of biology. I just don't.
It's like,
You know what I mean?
You said pick your favorite fruit. I picked a favorite fruit.
No, I get it. I love avocados probably more than some of the fruits on my list.
Yeah.
I just didn't consider it for this list. That's all. But I get it. It is biologically a fruit, and that's the best way to categorize fruit is with biology.
By what it is.
Now, my top 3, and I did this mathematically, okay?
You use pub meeple.
That's right. My number 3 is a plum. Plums.
Interesting.
Did you really?
Yeah, plums
Really?
pushed out peaches and nectarines. They're a little rarer, but they give me the firmness of the nectarine and that burst of sweetness that you get from a plum. You just don't get from these other sort of
But
Wow.
you
But
know?
man, if they're not, I mean, I agree with you. A nice, firm, a good plum is
Yeah.
good. But man, they go mushy, and it's like
There's a small
bleh.
window for sure. There is a small window in there. Yes.
That perfect texture is so
Really?
short.
But you get that perfect plum. It's just incredibly sweet again.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's a good texture. It's like eating. It's the closest fruit I can think of to basically eating gummies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's-
okay, I can see
I
that.
have never had a plum. I will admit that
I'm
now.
sorry, what?
I don't know how. I don't know why I've never had a plum.
Plums are amazing. You need to
They're
have
pretty
a
good.
plum.
They are
Plum or
good.
beet, those two I've never had.
Beets
so
are disgusting. And that's a fruit. Did you know that beets are
I did
fruits?
not know that.
Yeah.
Avocados.
Ground
too,
fruits.
apparently.
No,
call
it's a root vegetable.
root
You know what? You're killing me.
Number 3 is a plum.
Really? All right.
All right,
That's a good
what
one.
do you got?
All right. My number 2, mango. I
Oh.
love mangoes.
Oh.
Mangoes are. I still cannot cut my own mango. There's apparently an art to that. It's very difficult for me to do. But
I do it for you, but if I cut a mango, I eat it.
That's I do love mango, and that's more of a. They pushed out banana would be up there, but you know mangoes are just something about a mango. And again, it goes in everything, like you mentioned. Again, I like it in tea. Pretty much most of my fruits you can put in tea. Let's
You
just
don't
say.
Big issue with
tea,
mangoes, I like mangoes, is the texture. A lot of people, if you have an issue with peach fuzz, you're gonna have a problem with mangoes.
That's true.
They're
depends.
very fibery.
If you're like eating
Yeah.
it like an apple, like or off the pit, but if you cut it up, I don't find them as fibery because I don't know, they're not as fibery, right? If it's like pieces of mango, or like in a mango salsa, you don't get that texture.
Mango sauce
Sure, I
is so
Something
good.
like that.
suppose. Yeah.
And I will do cube mango a lot. But mangoes are one that you have to get at the right time. Otherwise, they can be way too hard and just like, I'm picky with my mangoes.
Yeah.
But I love mangoes. That's my number two.
Yeah, if you got a very green, like if the mango's not
Yeah.
ready, it'll mess you up.
I can suck it up on some fruits, but like, it's not ready, but I'll eat it. Mango's just like, no.
Like a banana, I prefer it here, but I could go either way,
bananas
a day or two.
really
Like,
have a wide berth.
They do,
It's
yeah.
like-
They really do. Bananas
do.
are one of the most
They are.
forgiving ones. I don't like bananas that much. They're fine, but they're very
they
forgiving.
They
really
are.
are. And
Yeah.
then, if they're-
Mangoes, plums, nope.
right.
You got to get that one day.
Yes.
and if a banana's about to go, you're like, I'm making bread.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It's going
yeah.
Or
on.
I'm freezing it and put it in
I'm freezing-
smoothies,
oh
or
my
I'm doing
goodness.
something like that with it. Yeah.
So many in the
Yeah.
freezer.
My number two is also mango. I love mangoes. And I love them.
crossover.
I think it did keep it. What bumps it out of the number one spot is two things. It does have a shorter window, and I don't like if you get too early, it tastes like a pine tree. If you go too late, the texture is off and you can't really peel it. It's a very short window.
You peel mangoes, huh?
Well, not really. No, I cut it off the core and then I dice it and then turn the skin inside out so the chunks are up and then I eat it chunk at a time. Out of the skin.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why it's chunked.
I'll peel, I'll cut the peel off a mango.
And then you eat it like how?
You can do that, or
Is
you
that what
can
you do?
cut the sides off of the elongated pit and then cut the edges off, and then you eat the seed, throw that out, and then the other pieces are
Interesting.
just the good stuff.
The way I do is
Yeah.
I walk into like a Publix
Oh my gosh.
and just get a little bowl of
Where
mangoes.
they pre-cut it for you.
Yeah, that's the way I do it.
Yeah.
Well, I grew
Tell me
up with
more about your
mangoes, so
laziness.
I had no Publix. So I had to cut it myself.
But I wonder if that's why the texture, not that you didn't say it bothers you so much, but that's why people would have a problem with it, is if you're like eating it off, if you're eating the seed, you have to have a toothpick afterward. There's no way it is super stringy.
Really?
That's why I prefer
Very,
it
very
cubed,
stringy,
because
yeah.
then, you're just eating the cube off the peel,
All right.
and it's
That's
not as bad.
interesting.
So number two, mangoes.
My number two is also mangoes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No, is it really?
Right there, look.
It really
Mango.
Wow.
is. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so same thing you guys said. I really, really like it. I grew up with mangoes. It's delicious. And there's a
so
lot of
good.
different kinds of mangoes. Like a lot of different kinds. I tend to like most of them. Some are going to be a little more perfumey. They're a little harder to eat. There's some that are, again, there's many different kinds, but most kinds of mangoes are very, very tasty. They do have a little bit of a small window for me specifically. I prefer fruits, pretty much all of them,
Right.
on the firmer side. And once the mango goes a little bit mushy, like if I am cutting a mango,
Yeah.
and I can feel it kind of like smushying underneath my
that's-
hand
ugh.
Yeah.
while I'm peeling it, it gets that soupy vibe
Right.
going on the top.
Yeah.
I'm not as big a fan of that. You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
But
Right.
I would do want it a little firmer, but not unripe. It's a very short window.
yeah, so there you go. My number two is also mangoes. Mangoes were the clear winner today.
Definitely
Right.
number two. But now, my number one, I anticipate a three-way crossover because there's only one clear winner in fruits, and it is strawberries. I mean, I love it because strawberries.
not considered.
Only downside about strawberries, though, are they're like shrimp because they're,
They're
so
not big
small.
enough.
They're not big enough.
Yeah, I want to have a strawberry the size of a horse.
That's the thing. You want to sit down with the fruit and sit there and eat the fruit, and instead you're just chopping up strawberries for an hour to eat those. So that's
what
the
are
only
you cutting
downside.
off of it? What do you mean chopping
The
up?
top, the
You can eat
grass. No, yeah. What?
The top?
The top
The
of the
green
strawberry?
part?
The green part?
Like the leaves?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can just take off the leaves
can.
without
You-
chopping them.
Oh, I cut
and then
that
you
whole
eat
part
the
off.
rest.
That's
There's
just-
no pit like an avocado, one of the
That's-
best known
Cut
fruits
the
of all
top off.
time.
You just pull the leaves off and eat it?
Yeah.
Animal.
I don't like it because then you have that little stem that's left in it, and I don't like the stem.
is very fibrous, very good for you. Okay.
But again, strawberries I love, in anything, smoothies.
See, I've had strawberries
maybe?
do me wrong too many times, where it's like, it's unripe. Oh, it's too ripe.
Oh,
Oh,
they
the
are.
seeds are too big. And if you put it,
You can't tell by looking if a strawberry is bad until you pick it up. You're like, there's something wrong here.
Yeah, and that's why I
gelatinous.
don't think I have them down here, but I really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the
gross.
wrong kind of jelly.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's like I was talking about a plum being gelatin-like. being like a gummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, strawberries can
Yeah.
be like the wrong kind of like gummy worm.
They
Yeah.
really can.
They can.
Easily. Yeah, so okay, that's my number one, strawberries.
Awful pick. Somebody said your number one was going to be asparagus.
I saw. Oh, that'd be a vegetable. No. People. My number one is a surprise to nobody if you know me at all, but mine is pineapple. I love
yeah.
pineapple. And I love pineapple. I think, if I'm thinking about it, I probably prefer the taste of mango better, but pineapple is my favorite because it's like the old faithful. You know, we talk about how these short windows, I feel like pineapple is forgiving. While there's a short window of where I really like it, it's forgiving on both ends. You know, kind of like a banana.
yes.
And I don't think, like you said, strawberries, they've done me wrong too many times.
Right.
You know, pineapple, I've never
So
had a
good.
bad pineapple. I've had one that was maybe, you know, a little fermented. I've had one that was a little bit unripe, you know, something like that. But it's not like unedible, you know, and it's just like, it's so sweet. It's got the right amount of tang to it where it's like, oh, that tang, but also sweet. And it's just it's an absolute delight. It has the fiber, but not like get stuck in your teeth fiber.
That's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't do you wrong.
So
you can trust
my
on
issue-
it. It's Old Faithful.
My issue with pineapple
good.
is twofold. A, they're a pain to peel.
That's
They've
true.
got all that, like,
You need tools.
Stop reproducing pineapple. You don't need that many eyes. You know what I mean? Yo, no, can we figure that out? Can we, like, group them up somewhere? So you can just cut that part off and the rest is good to go. Because it's everywhere. It's like I caught a disease. You're
That's
like, I
like-
gotta, like, pick at all these
No,
little
you
pieces.
just skin it. You just take the knife and
You're wasting a lot of pineapple if you do that.
Not that much pineapple.
You're wasting a lot of pineapple.
You're not wasting that much pineapple.
You know?
I don't know how you cut your pineapples.
But then I found out you can
I
grow
cut it like I don't have other pineapples that I can, you know, like you have
yeah.
to save pineapple. So
Well, they said you could cut the top off and you can grow a pineapple. So I tried that, and then I realized it took 18 months, and I'm like, I'm not that committed to growing a pineapple.
If I can go
But-
to Publix and just pick it up.
Right. I mean,
And they'll cut it for you
that's
too.
growing a pineapple. So
Yeah.
I think it's like grilling. Okay.
Oh, grilling, it's so good too, right?
And then you said 18 months. I'm like, wait, you're doing this wrong.
That's smoking it. To smoke it for a good 18 months.
Yeah.
Diana says
Perfection.
pineapple is good on ice cream. I would be all
I
over
would do that. The show Psych,
Yeah,
pineapple
well,
in every
and-
episode.
Anyway, so pineapple, the eyes, and all that stuff, but also the tang. You're talking about the tang and how
Yeah.
you like that. That is just, I don't consider it as tang as I consider it to be like the acidic nature is so strong. It just peels you, man. It just wrecks you.
Oh,
Really?
see, maybe I don't have
Huh.
as acidic of a mouth or whatever, but it's like, because it doesn't bother me. To me, pineapple is like a lemonade. It's like tart, but it's also sweet, and it's just the perfect combination of that.
All right.
Okay.
My number one is going to be tangerine.
Oh,
Really?
good.
So I almost
Okay.
said orange. I really like oranges. I'm going to go with tangerines. They're a little smaller, a little cuter.
Over
and
oranges.
they tend to be a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, they do. They're also
Okay.
easier to peel.
I don't know about that, but
Really, I find them easier to peel.
yeah. Yeah, I just think they're a good sweet. It's the fruit that already, my stomach is like
Yeah,
super
I heard
growly.
that. Yeah, I think my mic might pick that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that
Tangerines
it's
do it.
unlike pineapple that makes it difficult for you to consume it. And I'm like, just bend over pineapple, let me consume it, you know? The tangerine is like, I'm made to be eaten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You peel it and then it has sections. Like, they portioned for you. I love that. You know, what other fruit
nature.
does that? It's besides, again, oranges.
Oranges.
And they're like, you peel it and then you're like, you don't have to cut it. You don't have to do anything to it. You're just like, I want this much. And the fruit did that for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing
That
when you
is.
think about that, okay? And like, it knew it was meant to be eaten.
As well as it's one that you can pre-peel. Like if you're going on a road trip, you can pre-peel it and put it in a baggie, and then again have your portions in
Because
the
it has
car.
that second
Right.
skin.
So it
It's
is
like, I'm going to stay
very
fresh
versatile.
for you.
For
Whenever
you.
you're ready to eat. I love that, okay? I'm just saying, the other fruits need to take a hint.
I need to do more tangerines. I do oranges, so tangerines are sweeter, right?
They are a little bit sweeter. They're also smaller, so you might run into your strawberry issue.
That's true.
Oh, you gotta be careful.
I'll be judged if I sit down with a bowl of tangerines.
We'll be judged
No, that's
anyway,
good.
so might
It's
as well
great
do it.
for you. Vitamin C.
There we go.
Delicious.
There you go.
There's seeds in there, so you need to be careful about the seeds unless you get the mutated ones in this country.
That's true.
But yeah, that's it. So tangerines are my number one.
Yep.
And that's it for our fruits, folks. Let's move on.
Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and today I want to talk about follow-up or sequel games that replace the original for me. I will never play the excellent original game again because the follow-up is better. First up, I would like to discuss The Crew Quest for Planet 9. This is an amazing cooperative trick-taking game in which you are embarking on different missions and working together to accomplish your goals, and loved the original, played the original a bunch, and then 2 years later they came out with The Crew Mission Deep Sea. And I'm never going to play the original again because in The Crew Mission Deep Sea, they streamlined the process of selecting the missions and they gave more variety to the missions. So it's just easier to set up and play, but it's more engaging and you're able to do much more interesting things. It's a better game. The next one I would like to discuss is 8 Minute Empire. It's a Ryan Lockett game from Red Raven Games. It kind of feels like a mix of Risk and Small World to me. It's a territory building game and it's amazing because you pack a lot of strategy into a game that it's not 8 minutes. What I heard is you think of it as 8 minutes per player playing. And so, but it's still really fast. If you have a 2-player game and you're able to play in 16 minutes, that's fantastic, and still get the whole Risk feel, conquering the world. It's an amazing game. We were so excited about this when we first played it, and then we played 8 Minute Empire Legends. It's better. It's the one we're going to play. In 8 Minute Empire Legends, they switched up a few things. There's now a modular board, and so there's much more variety in your setup. Every time you play, it's never just, oh, okay, here's my same board again. It can be different every time. And they fixed the only really tricky point with the original was trying to cross water. Required a card with a specialty movement to do that. And sometimes that card didn't come up, or it came up and one person got it, they got across the water and were able to move their armies around, and you were stuck and you were just sitting there kind of twiddling your thumbs because you couldn't really do anything without crossing the water. This one, it just costs a few more movements. So you don't ever really feel stuck. And they switched up a few different things for the cards that you purchase and their actions and abilities. It's just much more streamlined, works beautifully. So it took an already good game and made it great, in my opinion. It is still one of our absolute favorites, our go-tos. The third one I want to talk about today is King Domino. King Domino is a lovely game where instead of just dominoes with numbers, you're using dominoes with terrain, matching up similar-sided terrain and trying to score the highest scoring kingdom. And you score it by the number of crowns times the number of connected spots on the board. It's very simple to explain the basics of the game. Very fun to play. King Domino Origins came out a couple years ago. And I would not say that it necessarily replaces King Domino, but I would say that it replaces Queen Domino. Because standard King Domino is still excellent to play with people who, with younger kids or just family level game. King Domino Origins is if you want to bring it into more of the hobby level of gaming and have that as an option. And it has 3 different modes in one. So it really, we don't play standard King Domino in our house, but I use it when I go and play games. I do games at the rec center. I bring King Domino there. So it's useful. But King Domino Origins in Discovery mode, it's essentially King Domino, but they added in volcanoes. This has a great Stone Age theme. The theme is great. Even adding the volcanoes in standard King Domino, I really like because it adds in a little bit more control. It shoots out fire, and the fire is what you multiply by. Instead of crowns, you multiply by fire tokens on the board times the number of connected spots for your final score. So you get a little more control because from the volcano you get to pick where you place a fire token if you get a volcano spot. Those are very helpful. Then they have totem mode, which is pretty middle level, family friendly. This was my 10-year-old son's favorite way to play when we were just playing this all the time. And if you like components, oh my goodness, they have mammoth, fish, mushroom, and flint, these little wooden tokens that are so fun. Kids love to just sit around and play with them. As an adult, I sit there checking them out and playing with them a little bit too. They're just so pretty and nice and just work so well with the game. And depending on the tile you're getting, you get a couple of those resources on it as well. And then there is tribe mode. And tribe mode is what really makes this game amazing. And it does everything that Queen Domino does, but without taxes. And in a much more streamlined, intuitive manner where you are using your resources to hire cavemen and you place them strategically on your board in order to score more points. So you can have fighters, and if you have them together in a group, you multiply, there are numbers on them times the number of spaces that can really help raise your score. You can place your cavemen where they're by a certain type of resource, and it's like multiply that times the number of fish they're around, and you get more points for that. So it's all that you can do in Queen Domino, but you can do a little bit more. And it's much more thematic and fits well with the game. So we love King Domino Origins, and I feel like it's kind of too bad because there are so many different versions of King Domino out there now. We have Dragomino, King Domino Duel, Queen Domino, Age of Giants, and now King Domino Origins. That's a lot of King Domino. So I see how this has kind of skipped over, and it doesn't seem like it's one of those go-to games as many people talk about because it's like the sixth one, but it's the best one. So I would highly recommend checking it out. That's it for me today. You can check out more of my content on my website and my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and back to the folks in the studio.
All right, so today we're going to be discussing mass market games and kind of what we mean by that right now at this stage, and what it means to stock these games. Are the games being stocked at places like Target and Barnes & Noble? Because they're there, are they mass market games? So is the store stocking mass market games, or is it because they are stocking things that aren't mass market? Are they moving away from that?
Right.
You know, have we hit that critical mass where what that means is changing?
Right.
You know? And again, the thing is, you can go to a Target, at least in this country, and I'm sure there's other stores around the world like it. You can go to a Target, or you could have at one point, you can go there and get Exploding Kittens, you can buy a deck of playing cards, you can get Poetry for Neanderthals or whatever, and you can also then get Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion at Target. You can get Spirit Island at Target. Or
which
is basically the same game with worse components, right?
Yeah.
And so it's what is what does that mean? Mass market? Are we opening that up? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Or do you feel like someone who goes there and gets a game randomly, rolls the dice on something, is that a good service for them, or might they get burnt away from the hobby because they gambled on something that quote unquote didn't fit there?
That's my biggest thing, is a lot of these are kind of marketed as mass market, and I've had a couple of families, it's the same game. They know I'm into board games, like, hey, we just grabbed Star Wars Villainous and we can't get through it. And I'm like, that's a heavy for someone to just hit the table. You know, the first Villainouses were rough enough because of the different type of asymmetric of powers. But that's like, it's a rough one for a family to grab, and they like the IP, and they bring it home, and they're very disappointed. They can't, and also probably won't get them to take the next step, you know, into gaming.
Yeah, and it's hard because, I mean, if some of these games are at, like, local game stores, then it's a little more personal experience. They're specializing in that, so you can walk in, you can talk to them. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm brand new into this, or I'm buying for someone that's brand new, or I'm buying for someone that's into this and I know nothing about it. So you can have that more personalized experience and recommendations and such, you know?
Right.
But on the flip side of that, if it's only in local game stores, then are those people going to take that step? Are they going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to get them a book instead, or I'm just going to get them a gift card to the movies, you know, if they're doing a gift or something. It's like, so it's good that they're in those mass market stores, and it increases that accessibility to people and opening the hobby. But on the flip side, it does maybe kind of hurt it because they get in over their head.
Right.
Yeah, I just worry again about somebody walking into, they haven't played anything since they played Monopoly as a kid. And they're in their 20s now. They're like, oh, you know, I used to enjoy board games. I want to rekindle that. I've heard this is a big hobby now. Let me try it out. You go to Target, they pick up, you know, Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah.
And they can't get through it, which is very understandable for someone to go from 0 to 60 like that. Are they now not a gamer? Are they really going to go back to Target and try again, roll the dice on something like that again? And I know what you're thinking, oh, they can just go on Board Game Geek or someplace and look up appropriate games.
No.
They're not gamers. You know what I mean? You don't think of the resources you have available to you if you aren't aware of it, if the thought doesn't cross your head.
Yeah.
And we had a couple that we knew that went on the Dice Tower cruise. They manage a resort down there. They just happened to be on the same cruise as a Dice Tower cruise. And they were like, what is this? And they came in and we showed them the library, and they were just so enamored with everything. So when they got home, they bought a couple, and one was Jaws of the Lion. So, and they did actually dive deep enough into learning that game, because that does have a bit of a more rewarding journey into learning it if you know games. So they were
as well
able
as the
to
tutorial
do that.
system.
Right.
You know.
But you mentioned game stores. That's the ideal situation if you have a game store and someone that will say, hey, you're new to it? Let's start off here.
Right.
You know? And you're right, Target's just, they're sitting next to the games.
Right.
They're all muddled together. I don't know, but you can't say it's a bad thing these are out there, you know, for places that don't have local game stores.
No, and the
yeah.
quality of local game stores, there's such a big spectrum of it. You know, is it one that specifically is for Magic the Gathering, and then it has a couple board games that they've had for 6 years that have been sitting in the sun and are faded?
Yes,
Or
yes.
is it a well-stocked, well-managed, the people that work there play the games, are into games, or is it a hourly, I don't know, it's just a weekend job to me. You know what I mean? There's just such a spectrum of game stores as well.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, but my concern is like, as we're seeing more and more coming out in these mass market retails, I will say, your Barnes and Nobles and your Target for us here in the U.S. Again, is that taking away from those game stores, and we are also going to see less and less quality there because they're just kind of it's another like little bit of dying for them. You know, if I can go pick up my bread and Jaws of the Lion, why wouldn't I do that?
Sure, right. That's the thing.
That's a good point.
And what you're missing is, again, and it's kind of like you're saying, up to the local game store then to offer knowledgeable staff that can help parse one thing from the other. Because Barnes & Noble will get a whole bunch of games. Their selection is amazing these days. But there's no rhyme or reason to where it is on the shelf. Like you're saying about Target, same thing. It's all there. You can pick up something that is a goofy flipping cards party game right next to something like Dune Imperium, you know?
Right.
And they're all there. There's no curating. You cannot ask the guy who's restocking the bookshelf for recommendations or what's a light game versus a heavy game, you know?
Right.
That's not a thing. And there is no system in place, which I think might be interesting, but there's no system in place like there is for, say, rating video games, which eventually came about, back in the 90s, that says E for everyone, T for teens, M for mature. That's content-based I understand that's a very different thing, but there is no such across-the-board system for board games. A lot of board game publishers willingly do so.
Try to, yeah.
And they'll put it on there, many war games do this, complexity. But they're working on their own complexity scale. You can't compare theirs and then take it and put it next to Point Salad and go, oh, Point Salad is medium complexity and this war game is medium complexity. They must be the same. They're not. There's no branch governing this. There's no institution, doing
different metric.
Right, they'll put the ages 12 plus, 14 plus on the box and that kind of stuff, but we in the hobby know that's usually crap. You know what I
That's
mean?
usually
Like
a
it's a guess.
safety rating more what it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
They test the game, and if the game has pieces, if they're like, okay, we need to worry about this small piece could be swallowed by a kid, so we need to kick up the AH rating. That has nothing to do, 90% of the time, with the content difficulty-wise and rules depth of the game. It's the stuff that's in there, the physical bits.
Right, so that's what I was going to say. So that's what I was going to say is it's like, but it's also going to be misunderstood by people that don't know it. We know it's crap. We know that it's more towards the safety ratings, that kind of stuff. But if you're going in, you think you might be looking at a complexity rating, or you might be looking at something like that, because that's what you're familiar with. Pardon me. That's what you're familiar with in video games. And you're like, oh, 10 plus? Oh, yeah, 10-year-olds can play this, I can play it. Hold on. You know what I mean? They're not going to know BGG to go look at the community ratings and things like that. As well as I think we see a wide spectrum as well of rule books. And so if some of these games that were like, great game, rough teach, and you're going and getting it from Target or from Barnes & Noble or something like that because it's on sale and it has a pretty cover, and you're within this age rating for it, that could be rough. And again, is it going to turn people more off of the hobby? But then
that's the risk.
Yeah.
And they are mentioning in the comments a lot how most game stores are CCG factories and things like that.
Well,
and
they
that's
have to
true.
be.
They have to be, because that's
to.
what funds the other board game side.
Right.
So if you ever find one that can do both sides, and it's possible, but it takes a lot of balancing as far as staffing and inventory and all that. It's hard to do, but it's great if you have one, support it and send people. That's what I try to tell them, to go to a game store, and you have somebody that guides them through.
Yeah.
But majority of people,
especially if they're offering something you can't get at Target,
right,
or Barnes and Noble, and that is that the ability to converse with someone at the store and find out, what is this game like? Is this easier to understand? What are the mechanisms? What am I doing? If they have that knowledge available to you, you can't get that at Target, at Barnes and Noble. You can get it online.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask if you guys ever help, because I know we all go through Target, see what they have. If you see someone, I have a couple times when I see someone looking at a game, I'm like, you got to see why they're picking that up. It's like, so who are you getting that for? Do you ever talk to people that are there looking at games or get asked?
No.
No, he's like, no.
No, I'm always, sometimes they're picking up one I know, and I'll be like, ooh, good game, have you played it? Something like that. If they look really confused, but I won't be like, do you need help? Because that's really condescending,
no,
right?
If I'm grabbing a game and they ask me something, which they will do a lot. They do that more at that section than I think any other section. I mean, obviously not the fruit section and all that. They're not going to ask me my
Have you had a banana?
Wow.
Yeah, very condescending.
Very condescending. But what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, back to the local game stores and stuff, I think that one of my favorite experiences in a local game store back up in Baltimore, I went in one time and I was looking for a game and I was like, I think I want this, I don't know, and I'm trying to make a decision. This is pretty early on me getting into gaming. And the guy there was like, hey, hold on, we have games to play out in the back, let me grab it. And I didn't sit there and play it, but he opened it up and showed me the components, that kind of stuff. And honestly,
100%.
that was pretty early into me getting into gaming and was a pretty pivotal point, where I was like, wow, okay, because then I had a little bit of base going into it. They made a sale. I had a little bit of base going into it, and it really opened up the hobby, and I knew what I would get from that local game store.
Yeah.
And so I think the experience that they can done well is fantastic.
I agree.
But I do feel for them not knowing how to keep up with these mass markets that can offer the sales, that can just put it out there, and people will buy it.
Right.
And they will, like I said, they'll go pick up their bread and their bananas and their game.
I will say, I think the mass market, this a bit of a misnomer now, has evolved to include a lot of new, interesting, diverse things. You can get Wingspan now, and that I would consider mass market.
Yep.
Some of these other games we've mentioned, heavier games, more modern, splashier, much more interesting things, and ultimately diverse is what we want, right? It doesn't, interesting is based on the person and what they think. Diverse, you can apply that to the fact that we have so many different games now. But I love the fact that the mass market now includes all these things.
Yep.
Though on the flip side of that, yes, I do wish that places like Target and Barnes & Noble maybe organize things and maybe label them as to the complexity rating. Will it happen?
Right.
No, I think it's a bit of a pipe dream. That would take too much micromanaging of one specific area in a big box store. So But it's a nice thing to have available, to have all these games now be in our new mass market. So there you go, folks. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks very much for checking out Smorgasbord with us. Make sure you come on back in a few hours here. We're going to have a top 10, and it is top 10
games I wish I had as a teenager.
There you go. So make sure you come on back for that. We've, of course, got videos going up throughout the rest of the week. But make sure you come on back this afternoon. And that's going to do it. My name is Z Garcia.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I'm Joey Evans.
Have fun gaming. We'll see you.
Bye.